So it is my pleasure to introduce Thomas Razzeto.
You're all very kind. Thank you. I went to a Mind Supermind talk, almost 3 years ago. And the presentation touched on the science of 2012. But I didn't really get what they were talking about. So I went home and I did a lot of research. And it's taken me 2.5 years to write this book. 70-page book. But 2.5 years to write this book because it took me that much time to figure out what to say. The book is called Mystical 2012. And the website is mystical2012.com. And you can read the book at the website for free. And you can even print it out, formatted for 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. And that also is free. You can buy the book from Amazon.com. I got a couple copies if you want to see it after the class. The full title of the book is Mystical 2012, Did the Maya Shamans Discover a Mystical View of Reality? That doesn't sound like a subtitle that most people are going to associate to 2012, but we'll see how the mystical view connects with the Maya. Now, when I first started looking into this, I was very focused on the astronomy of 2012. I really dug into the astronomy. I quickly found the work of John Major Jenkins. How many people here are familiar with that work? He refers to it as the Galactic Alignment. It's very interesting work, it's solid science, and yet it left me a little bit unsatisfied because the Galactic Alignment already occurred in 1998. So I kind of went, well, if John's right, then the Maya missed by 14 years. But that's not that big of a deal. The calendar has been in place for around 2,000 years. So to miss by 14 years is still a really good shot. What I'm proposing is they didn't miss by nothing. They hit the day they wanted exactly, the winter solstice of 2012. But it took me a long time to formulate the idea of why that might be. My approach to 2012 is to carefully consider 3 tightly woven aspects of 2012. The first is the astronomy that will unfold on that day, exactly, in the sky over the Maya. The second is the metaphorical stories that are built on top of that astronomy. And that's the metaphorical stories of transformation and rebirth. The third is the core meaning of that metaphor. And my thesis is that metaphor is timeless. The transformation and rebirth metaphor is relevant and profound to you today and to them 2,000 years ago. And we'll take a look at it starting with asking, where are you on the earth? Because whenever I present astronomy to the computer, it asks you the question, where are you on the earth? And so I learned that the long count calendar was developed in this region in general, right around in through here, but especially in this small town called Izapa. It's not Ixtapa, which is up the coast. It's a very small town called Izapa. And it's right here at the very southern tip of Mexico. Chiapas is part of Mexico. It's a state of Mexico. So I told my computer, I guess I'm going to be in Izapa, and then I said, well, when am I going to be there? Well, I put December 21st, 2012 and looked for interesting things in the astronomy. And I looked at all kinds of things from every different direction you could possibly imagine. This region is important for a number of reasons. One is because the latitude that this is on is such that the sun goes right over your head. And then the next day it goes less and less. And then on the winter solstice it's down at the lowest. And then it goes back. And that takes 260 days. That means there's another 105 days when it goes over here. But this makes this the origin of the 260-day calendar that the Maya use. That's one of the calendars that they use. So this is the birthplace for that. And in this region are the sacred ceremonial grounds that we're going to be talking about. So that's where we are and why we're there. And also, when did these people come here and live here? Well, approximately 2,000 years ago, maybe a little bit more, but I'm a round number kind of guy when I can get away with round numbers. And for this, I'm saying 2,000 years ago, these guys came here. probably goes back about 3,000 years, people in the region and stuff, but this actual site they're saying is around 2,100 years ago. Okay, so now that we know where we are, let's take a look. Well, why did the Maya pick 2012? This is it. It doesn't look like much if you don't know what it means, so we'll go through it in pieces. The first thing to realize is this looks like it's nighttime, right? Because it has a dark sky here, and you can see the stars, and you can see the Milky Way. But you also notice the sun is right here. I just told my computer I need to see the stars, and I need to see the Milky Way. So it put the dark sky there for us. Now, when we stand in Izapa at high noon on December 21st, 2012, the day of the winter solstice, and this arrangement will be over, is approximately as big as your hand held at arm's length. If you put the sun where your thumbs meet and you hold your hands like this, you will have Mars on your left and Venus on your right. And it will be horizontally oriented like this at high noon. You also can barely see, in fact, we could take lights down more if we want, but right in this region is the center region of the Milky Way. Okay? Now the center region of the Milky Way is very captivating. When you go out in the summertime, and if you have good viewing conditions, which of course the Maya always had, you'll be able to see that region of the sky just spectacular. It's about as big as your fist, again, held at arm's length. And so this region attracted their attention. There's nothing like this in the sky, and it's there for them to see repeatedly. And so what will indigenous people do with things in the sky? They will make stories about them. And what are the stories about? They're almost always about, where did we come from? Genesis, right? So this was seen as the big round belly, the pregnant belly of the mother of creation. And this dark region was seen as the birth canal. Now with the sun in the middle of the birth canal, we can say that the sun is being reborn. The indigenous cultures all around the world refer to 2 rebirths. The Maya refer to 3. The 2 rebirths, you guys are all familiar with it, but I'm going to put it on the table for completeness. The first rebirth is the sunrise. We all see the sunrise, and what happens when the sun rises? Does it pop up and is it really hot and really bright right away? No, it's like a little baby being born, and its light is getting stronger and stronger. And then there's a level where you peak and you have your maximum physical strength. And then it'll get a little weaker and weaker, and then the sun leaves our world. And they say it dies. It goes into the underworld because it seems like it sets and goes underneath the ground. So the sun is said to go into the underworld. But the next morning, it's reborn, comes back into our world and brings us the light and heat we all need to stay alive. So this is a very important story for our own life. And along this line, we also have a longer period of rebirth, right? We have the year, where we have long days in the summer and shorter days in the winter. And so on the day of the winter solstice, those days have now gotten as short as they're going to be, and they're now going to start to grow longer. So in this, we now have the rebirth of the sun in the time frame of the year. Now for the Maya, they were able to witness this section of the sky, and what they saw was that planets and the sun went through this region. I think that the most important thing about 2012 is what the Maya can see with their eyes. This is not about some fancy-dancy guy with some telescope, although the precision that's required to understand this and to set up the calendar is off the charts. But the stories that they tell can be told in such a way that you can look in the sky and hook right into it. So we have these 2 roads. This road here, the scientists call it the Ecliptic. And it actually goes all the way around us, and it's the zodiac. And all sky watchers are very familiar with the zodiac. This is the Milky Way, and it also goes all the way around us. So these 2 roads cross, and this place where they cross points to this area of light. All of this, and so that's why it attracted the attention. Now, as the year goes on, it seems to us, from the point of view of Earth, that the sun is here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here, goes all the way around through the year, and comes back around and goes through again. So every year the sun goes through here. In the time around 2012, it goes through here on or near the winter solstice. 13,000 years ago, and 13,000 years from now, it goes through there during the time of the summer solstice. And it just varies like that. And that's due to the wobble of the Earth's axis, which we probably don't even need to talk about very much. All we need to know is that 2,000 years ago, the Maya saw the sun go through this region in late November. Now, they realized that this rebirth of the sun was shifting slowly into a later part of the year, late November, early December, and so forth. So the question in their mind was, what year, and they're asking this question 2,000 years ago, what year in the distant future will the sun be in the middle of the dark rift on the same day as the winter solstice? In other words, when will these two rebirths come together and happen on the same calendar day? And since every day has a sunrise, that brings us a triple rebirth of the sun. That's one of the central points of my thesis. But it's not enough. We need to also add this. It's the sacred tree. I circled the planets so that you can see them. Pluto is not visible to the naked eye. I only circled it out of completeness. But let's just pretend we don't have it. But it is really a balanced bar. Now this crossbar I call the crossbar of light, because the objects on it either reflect or give off light. So we have one crossbar of light, and we have a crossbar of darkness, the dark road. We have yin and yang. And this crossing was referred to as the sacred tree. It's also called the tree of life, or the sacred cross. It has many names, and cultures all around the world refer to it. Again, because it's this crossing of these two obvious astronomical features, the Milky Way and the path of the planets and the sun, the ecliptic. Okay? So, in the tree analogy, we no longer refer to this as the pregnant belly. It's the root system of the tree of life. So the non-dual source is giving rise to our world, which is expressing itself in duality. It's a very beautiful and powerful metaphor. So, the two together, the triple rebirth of the sun and the sacred tree, the special, unique configuration of the sacred tree on the winter solstice of 2012, in my opinion, is the reason why the Maya picked that exact day.